It is 5 o'clock.
I'm not hearing anything.
Anthony.
Present.
Foster.
Good evening.
Yes. Graham Hudak.
Speaker.
Anne Marie, Diane.
Are you, Graham? I am doing a roll call, Anne Marie. You're present.
I don't think they can hear you.
Okay.
Quick save
You're-
system.
You're going to want, no, they can't hear that.
I can't hear you.
1 minute.
Hear you.
Well,
Good one, man. Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, will you finish while I run over there and turn the volume on their computer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we are, Graham Hudak is there, Segrist is present, so Slavens is also clearly present, and then Snyderman and Williams.
I'm here.
I see Steve, so he's good to go. And we have myself and obviously John Anthony sitting next to me, so they're good to go. Call for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We still have 1, 2, 3. Okay, those in favor of the motion as presented, please say aye.
In a roll call.
Aye.
Or we have to roll.
You should do the roll call, yes. Thank you. So Anthony,
Yes.
Summer Foster,
Aye.
Diane.
I'll say aye.
Okay, thank you.
And you?
And I say aye as well, so that gets us our quorum. And to adopt the agenda as presented. We do have one set of minutes, and maybe I should wait for Mike and Anne Marie. Anne Marie, can you hear now? Diane, can you hear now? Wonderful. Okay, you're muted right now, Diane.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. No, we're good. You're just in time. We've got you as present, both yourself and Anne Marie. We did adopt the agenda as presented. If that's acceptable to you guys, I'll call for a motion to approve July 28th, 2020 meeting.
Mr. Supervisor, may I ask who made the motion for the agenda and who supported it?
I made the motion. It was supported by John Anthony, and ayes came in from Anthony, Foster, Snyderman, and myself for 4.
All right, I as well.
Okay, there you go.
Aye as well.
Aye.
Perfect. Now we've got.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve the minutes from July 28th meeting. as
Second.
requested.
We'll call vote.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudak,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
Williams.
Okay.
Williams, aye.
Okay.
All right, now it's time in our agenda for any citizens non-agenda item. Is there anybody online, Michael, that has a raised hand from the public that would like to speak at this time? Now would be the time to make any public comment on agenda item, on an item that's not on the agenda. Do you have any raised hands?
I see none, and I received no communication prior to the meeting.
Okay, very good. Treasurer Slavens, if you could call for motion to pay the bills.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion that we pay the bills.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudak,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Very good. Now it's time in our agenda for a public hearing. We have a public hearing this evening for approval of the 2020 CBDG program for the program year, and the annual action plan was submitted in your package. Wendy Trumbull, can you lead us through that, Director Trumbull?
I'm sorry, you want me to read what?
Well, we have a motion, maybe read the first motion, Michael, and then I'll come back and do a summary introduction.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to open the public hearing to hear comment on the Advisory Council recommendations for fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program.
Support.
Okay, roll call vote to go into a public hearing.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudak,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. In terms of background, the recommendations that have been provided in your deck are coming from the CDBG Advisory Council. They were formulated following a virtual public meeting on project proposals on July 21st, 2020. Council recommendations generally follow the CDBG 5-year consolidated plan, especially with regards to the recommendations for human services funding, human service agencies funding. The Human Services Agency First Step, Neighborhood Legal Services, Michigan, and the Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency are recommended to receive approximately the same allocations as they did last year. For the fuller project descriptions and recommended budgets, it was in your attached exhibits. It is detailed out pretty well. This is, I think everybody's seen this now for the 4th time. Wendy, is there anything you'd like to add, or are there any trustee comments, questions?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like want to add is, aside from the human service agencies, the advisory council is suggesting that the board adopt about $62,000 towards ADA projects, housing rehabilitations, where we go in and help the low to moderate income, either with their homes or their mobile homes, spend about $100,000. And for the Copper Park Playground, I think Director Hohenberger is going to talk a little bit about that later today, but they've requested an additional $75,000 for the playground surface for that playground there. So outside of those agencies, those are some other items that would be spent on. And we were allocated about $365,000. So this is not the same CDBG CARES Act money. This is actually our normal recurring annual CDBG program. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Thanks, Wendy.
If you have any.
The one I had a question on was the rent assistance. Wayne Metropolitan Community, have we done that before?
Yeah, we have, all of these are about the same allocations that we have
Okay.
historically done for each of these.
And that one, since it's Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, are we insured, or can we ensure that the money will come back to Canton residents?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of the agreement, that it is required to be spent on Canton residents.
Okay, that was my question.
Yep. You're welcome.
Anne Marie?
Yes, are we full, is our committee full, our CDBG committee? I know a couple people had dropped off. Is our advisory board full now?
Can I get back to you on that? I need to verify. I do think that there was one person who had dropped off. That position had been refilled yet during COVID. So can I follow up with you on that and send an email?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Supervisor, may
Yes.
I, just as a point of order, being this is a public hearing, the first motion is to open the public hearing, and that's the sole purpose is to receive comment from the general public. Then after we close the public hearing then we have typically a motion to approve, at which point in time the board members would be asking specific questions. But for this portion, it's really for the public to provide input, either yay or nay. And the only reason I'm stressing that is because from minutes, the comment that is made during the open hearing is required to state who made the comment and then whether they spoke in favor or opposed to the plan. So the kind of the question and answer it always puts the clerk in a bit of an awkward position when I'm making the minutes, because we're not really conforming to the state law around public hearings. So
Yeah, no, good, very valid points.
might be more appropriate for us to open the public hearing, do 3 calls for public comment. If there's none, close the public hearing, make a motion for the plan, and then go into discussion about
Sure.
the advisory committee's makeup or any other questions that we might have.
Perfect.
And for every public hearing going forward, it's hard because I think, we do a lot of different things sometimes, but it would make it easier and stick to the kind of the format of a public hearing.
Points well taken. Is there anybody, any hands raised At this point, is there anybody that would like to make public comment? Is there anybody who would like to make public comment at this time on this agenda item? Is there anybody who would like to make public comment at this time? Do we have any raised hands in the audience?
I see none.
Okay. That being said, then let's go ahead and call for the second motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to close the public hearing at 5:11.
Support.
Support.
Roll call vote to close the public hearing.
Foster,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Segrist. Aye. Slavens.
Aye.
Snyderman.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Okay. Is there any additional questions or comments that the trustees would like to make at this time?
I think we have to, Michael wants us to make the motion and then ask, is that right? Michael?
Who would you like to, well, do you want to make the motion first up, Mike? Before we have,
Sure.
let's go ahead and do that. Motion number 3.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adopt the 2020 annual action plan and authorize the submission of the 2020 annual action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Support.
Roll call vote.
Oh, this would be the appropriate time to ask for comment. I apologize.
All right, no problem. Is there any additional board comments or questions for Wendy?
For the record, the question I asked Wendy, Director Trumbull, about rent, please add here.
You guys are going to tease me about, I knew I was.
Clerk
gonna-
Segrist.
And for the record, do we have anyone on the board?
Okay, thank you.
John, is there any comment or question you had?
Wendy, is there any checks done to see if there are any unpaid state, federal, or local property taxes that are due or HOA dues that would adversely impact obtaining that grant?
That's not a requirement of the grant program, and that's not a current requirement of our program to double check if there's outstanding liens or mortgages. When we do this work, it's obviously for low to moderate income people who are in need of assistance. So we have not traditionally looked, nor is it required for us to look to see if they're in arrears for any other needs. It's certainly something that we can, look into. I don't know if
Well, my concern is that if we give 10,000, whatever, just make a number up to fix up a roof on a house.
Yep.
There's a lien on that house, and after the roof comes on, the bank or an individual, whoever holds that lien, forecloses. Doesn't make any sense to give them the money.
Right. If the property sells within 5 years, they're required to pay the money back. So it's a lien. Us giving this money is also a lien on their property. So we would be refunded the money, and it would go back into the program to be spent on somebody else.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Head Summer?
Wendy, we put money into Wayne Metro through CDBG with the coronavirus cares money. Do you know how much we have of that's left that they have that has not been allocated?
We were supposed to have a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and they postponed that just for that very reason. They had a number of applicants that had applied for it right off the bat. And then a lot of the individuals who had applied did not follow through with the paperwork. So there was still a fair amount of money left. So we were supposed to be meeting with them a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure what date that got put back on the calendar for that very reason, to try to figure out what we need to do to help people. So I can definitely follow up. And I know, Summer, you were part of that call before. So if if we set up another meeting, if you'd like us to include you on an invite to be part of that call, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, just let me know when it is, and if I'm free, I'll jump on.
Okay, perfect.
Anne Marie?
Yes, thank you. And this might be part of the organization that Summer just referred to. However, I know that in Oakland County, and I just know this, I helped my grandma years ago, a loan for her house through the senior citizen program. Is that part of Wayne Metro's, and could we combine forces in the future with them to maybe offer more to our residents?
So Wayne Metro is definitely an organization that can help our residents with a number of different facets. They are a Wayne County organization that helps people with low to moderate needs. They get more money that's allocated countywide. That's not just specific to Canton. So not only do they have money that is specific to Canton that we give them that has to help Canton residents, they also get money from other sources that can help anybody in Wayne County. So that is definitely a resource that if somebody's struggling, we could be directing people to call.
Okay, and would that include, is there another program that's just for seniors? Because that's the one that I worked with before.
This one is not just for seniors.
Okay. Okay.
There might be a group that I can get, I can look into that, but this would not only be seniors.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, seeing no further comments, call for a roll call vote.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Seagerstai, Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Okay, we've got one item on the consent calendar for this evening. Read it as a single item. Motion. It's actually two motions for the consent.
This my PDF crashed
Uh-oh.
per usual.
Would you like
Here we go. Consider second reading of an amendment. Mr. Supervisor, I move to adopt the consent calendar as presented. Item C1, consider second reading of an amendment to Appendix A zoning of the Code of Ordinances regarding the Erie Investments number 18 LLC rezoning.
Support.
and then do you want to read the second motion at this time, or
Well, it's consent calendar, so
we're good to go? Okay,
I think we typically just at this point call the vote. And
let's call the vote.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Seagerstai, Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Clerk Segrist, do we see Aaron from Watua online with us today?
I do.
Perfect. Okay. Item G1 is Watua's annual budget approval request.
I've promoted Mr. Sprague to panelist. Supervisor, I move that the board adopt the following resolution. Whereas, so resolution of the Charter Township of Canton, whereas the Western Townships Utilities Authority has prepared a proposed budget for fiscal year ending September 30, 2021, which has been reviewed by the Finance Committee on July 20, 2020, and the Board of Commissioners on July 27, 2020. And whereas the authority is required to submit a budget to each of the member townships for approval in August of each year, now therefore be it resolved that the departmental budget for the authority as prepared, as presented on page 1 of the proposed annual budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2021 is in the amount presented is hereby approved.
Good. And we have with us this evening, is question or statement?
There was support.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. Aaron Sprague is with us from Watua. He's our executive director for Watua. Aaron, how you doing? And is there anything you'd like to share with us up front?
No, I don't think so. I think you'll see that we have another 2.255% decrease this year. Not as good as the past 2 years, but still, I think, relatively good news. Other than that, I don't really have much to say.
Okay. And the primary reduction is based on the shifting over to Yucca?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll see the benefits from that move. Is there any public comment, Michael? You see any raised hands?
I see none.
Okay, seeing none. All right, so now would be a good time for board comments, questions for Mr. Sprague. Fairly routine. The numbers are going in the right direction, so not much to beat you up about this year.
Right. Good job.
Mhm.
Was there any effect of COVID on the numbers?
Not on our numbers. It's kind of too soon to know whether or not it will impact our wastewater numbers. That there is the potential for that. I would expect that residential use might be higher than normal, but industrial, commercial use may be lower. So I don't expect a big impact, but it's too soon to say.
Thank you.
Question. Okay, seeing no other comments, call for a roll call vote on the model resolution.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Item G2, consider approval of the site plan for Culver's Drive-Through Restaurant and Private Road.
Supervisor, I move that the board adopt the following resolution: approval of site plan for Culver's Restaurant. Whereas the project sponsor has requested site plan approval for Culver's Restaurant and Private Road located within a proposed out parcel in Myers parking lot south of Ford Road and east of Canton Center Road. And whereas the planning commission reviewed the request and voted 8-0 to recommend approval, subject to minor corrections to the landscape and sign plan, which have been incorporated into revised building elevations. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton, Michigan does hereby approve the site plan for Culver's Restaurant and Private Road on parcel number listed, subject to the applicable local and state requirements.
Support.
Good. In terms of summary, Meyer and Culver's is proposing to create a new parcel, establish a private road easement from Ford Road to the new parcel across the existing Meyer entrance, and develop a drive-through restaurant. The proposed Culver's will be approximately 4,100 square foot on a 1.81 acre out parcel located south of the gas station entrance drive and Chase Bank on the east of Spoons, just east of Spoons. The new site incorporates a portion of the existing north-south driveway with existing Meyer parking lot, within the existing Meyer parking lot. The Township Board did approve special land use for this project back in January 2020. And just to reiterate, the Planning Commission did approve 8-0 before it came to us. Are there any questions or comments for Jade this evening? Go ahead, Anne Marie.
I guess it was a good plan as Culver's. I know the planning commission members were excited about Culver's coming in. Things that we did want to stress is we want to have more outdoor seating, especially right now. We know with the pandemic how important outdoor seating is. So if you go to some of the Culver's, you can see they do have some outdoor seating. So they said we did have that option. So I hope that we build the site with that in mind, having outdoor tables.
Seeing no other comments at this time. Steve, did we lose Steve?
I believe Steven Snyderman is still here. He just has ended his video.
Okay, no problem.
He's still here, but he is on mute and has ended his video.
Oh, there's Steve. Okay, good. All right. Those in favor of the.
Oh, we have a chat.
We've got a chat question.
Nope, that was Aaron Sprague saying thank you and good evening.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Roll call vote for item G2.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye, and I had to let the dog out, otherwise he'd be saying aye also, so sorry about that.
and Williams.
Aye. Item G3, consider authorization to purchase order to Fishbeck Incorporated for professional engineering services for road improvement program design of Haggerty, Michigan Avenue to Van Born.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve a purchase order contract for the 2021 major road construction projects to Fishbeck Incorporated in the amount of $119,086.
Support.
This is a portion of, I believe, our major roads program. Back in 2018, the board approved ballot language, obviously, for the millage. The township's now entering the second phase or second year of the program. And the details of proposed 2020-21 major road projects were presented to the board last year during a study session. The scope of this project was developed with the county engineers and will include repairs to the base and asphalt overlay. Engineering costs have been provided here in the attached proposal. Do we have any questions for Jade? Good to see the stuff get moving. Seeing no questions or comments at this time, call for roll call vote, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
and Williams.
Aye. Item G4, consider approval of contract budget amendment for purchase order for Preservation Park Pavilion construction. It's a form of two motions, which could probably be made as one. If you'd like.
All right, Mr. Supervisor, I move to award the contract and approve a purchase order in the amount of $332,465 to Carpentry Concepts and Ceilings LLC at 18786 Susanna, Livonia, Michigan, 48152 for the Preservation Park Pavilion design and build, along with the following, the attached budget amendments.
Support.
Okay. In terms of background, Wayne County Parks millage was approved by the voters back in 2002 and renewed in 2009 and 2016 again for 7 more years. As a provision of the millage, Wayne County Parks has agreed to reinvest a maximum of 15% back into our local communities. Annually, communities submit project proposals based on the allocated funds from the county. And in preparation, Preservation Park Edition, Canton requested Wayne County use the fiscal years of 2018 and 19 funding of $124,538 and combine it with the fiscal year 2019-2020 funding of the same, or a little bit more, $129,938 to construct the pavilion with permanent restrooms at Canton's Preservation Park. And this is a long-awaited asset that I'm happy to see is in front of us tonight to consider. Do we have any questions for Director Hohenberger or comments? Greg, would you like to add something?
If anyone's curious, I do have photos on my computer if you want me to share my screen of what the pavilion will look like and the location.
You guys like to see that?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
That'd be great.
All right, so this is the location. This number 12 here is the location of the proposed pavilion. So you have the parking area here is 14. The barn is number 2. The community gardens are number 7. So the pavilion would go between the parking area and the community gardens. And then the pavilion itself will look something like this. So it's going to have these nice arches that you see here. It won't have this cupola on top. But another example is this one, where again, you see the nice arches, and this one actually has the bathroom building on one end, which is what we'll have. We'll have 3 full indoor, fully plumbed bathrooms for individuals to use out at Preservation Park as well.
Very nice.
I think this is going to be a very nice amenity for us that's going to provide a great rental space for us in the future for potential weddings and graduation parties, as well as a nice shelter for the farmers market.
Absolutely.
Might be able to eat some beers and brats in there too.
Might be able to.
Having a legitimate restroom, the restroom will have hot water.
Yes,
Wonderful. That's a huge upgrade from the Porta John. So much appreciated.
absolutely.
May I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
What's the capacity of that pavilion, do you know, and is it available for rental, or is it just going to be open to the general public? And for
It will be available for rental. We haven't established any rental process yet, so it'll be next year before anyone will be able to rent that. And it'll be a 60 foot by 80 foot structure, so I'm not sure what the capacity will be, probably around 80 to 100.
Well, COVID, it's maybe a little bit, but yeah.
10. We have already gotten our first pavilion rental request for this pavilion that doesn't even exist.
Nice. Anne Marie, I think, are you wait? I can't tell if you're small.
Sorry, I was looking for my glasses.
Do you have a question?
No, they were on my, I was looking for glasses, thanks.
There we go. I can see everybody a little better now. Are there any additional comments or questions? Director?
No.
It's popping up on my screen. Randomly. Okay, seeing no further questions, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye. Okay, that concludes our formal calendar for this evening. I unfortunately have to excuse myself, but we do have a presentation coming from Leisure Services. Greg, are you and your team prepared to make that presentation now?
We certainly are.
Okay, and Michael, if you would please, for wrapping up the meeting, you'll take over from here, please. Do we have to do anything formally to make that happen?
I don't believe so.
All right.
I believe based on the rules of our body that that would be
Good to go.
actually in the absence of the supervisor, there should be an election. So we'll have to do a motion, but it would be after you leave.
Okay, and I'm going to do that in 2 seconds. And then Trustee Anthony has got something he'd like to add at the end of the
Okay.
report comments. If you allow that, I appreciate it. Okay, I will excuse myself, guys. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Thank you, Pat. Mr. Supervisor. All right, I would like to entertain a motion for a temporary chairperson for the meeting. Would anybody like to would anybody like to nominate somebody?
Does John want to do it? Or
For Diane?
Stephen, it doesn't matter.
Michael, if you're running the meeting, I'm fine to make a motion for you to continue running the meeting. So
Okay,
I'll move that Clerk Segrist complete the meeting as
there's a motion.
Supervisor Pro Tem.
All right. there's a
Support.
motion. There's a support. Okay, all those in favor by roll call vote. Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudek,
Aye.
Segrist, aye. Slavens,
Aye.
Heidemann.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Greg, I've provided the ability to share screen. If Jen wants to do the presentation, by all means, go right ahead. You should be able to take the screen.
Okay, thank you all very much for this time tonight. What we wanted to do is take a little bit of time tonight. I know Jen's working on getting her shared screen up there, so anytime you want to do that, Jen, go ahead. I'll just keep chatting. We just wanted to share with the board the things that are happening in Leisure Services. We are still doing a lot. We never stopped maintaining our parks and maintaining all of our facilities. We continue to do all those things. Looks like Jen might be having a technical difficulty. She's having her IT staff step in and take care of this for us. She's got her IT staff at home. So once we'll get this screen up, I can share it from mine, Jen, if you're, oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So, okay. So current operations, we still have Pheasant Run Golf Club that's continuing to operate and really seeing some record numbers of participation this year with lack of, the fortunate thing for us is we have much less competition because you're not going out to movies and going bowling and those sorts of things. Your only option is to go golf. So we're getting a lot of golf this year, which has been fantastic to get some new people out to the course. Continue to maintain all of our parks and trails. We have 35 outdoor sites with over 1,300 acres and 10 miles of trails that we've never stopped maintaining throughout the whole process. And facility services, I know we look at this building a lot and the summit, but we service 18 township facilities as well as some other buildings in there for a total of 450,000 square feet of building space that we continue to maintain throughout this time. A lot of small outdoor sites that still need to be cleaned, still need to have regular maintenance that easily get forgotten about. So we continue to do all those things, lots of projects that are going on that Brad Sharp and his team have been leading as well. So with that, I'm going to ask Jennifer Provenzano to take over for me. She has, her and her team, John and his team, and Jennifer really have been doing a fantastic job of pulling together a new way to offer programs to the community during these interesting times. Obviously, we can't be getting large groups together, and a lot of what we do is bringing the community together. So Jen and the staff has really been doing a great job of reinventing the wheel and coming up with new ways to offer great services to the residents of Canton. So Jen, if you want to take that from me.
Sure. Thanks, Greg. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. We really, as Greg said, there's a lot of strategy goes into sort of pulling something like this together, because we're sort of rebuilding our department from the ground up. You know, we're someone who brings the community together, and right now that's clearly a hard thing to do. So we've had to get really creative and really thoughtful in our logistics as far as how to make that possible. But it's a really creative team of people, and I feel like y'all are going to be excited by some of the ideas that you're going to see that we're pitching for the fall. So with that, there's a lot crammed into here, and I'm not going to cover it all tonight. You certainly can have time to review it later, and then if you have questions or concerns that pop up along the way, afterwards or later, don't hesitate to reach out to me, please. The first one is really just a fall sports snapshot. The Canton Sports Center sort of kicked back off their operations just at the very end of the last month, and their numbers look really outstanding so far. Anne Marie shared a couple with me today. GCYBSA was reporting 700 youth baseball and softball players. There's 6 adult teams that are ready to play sand volleyball. Their turkey trot, which has a huge following in Canton, their numbers grow every year. They're expecting 1,400 different families to participate in that this year. So they're feeling really good about getting their operations back off the ground. Really skeleton staffs and a lot of staff from other divisions sort of working together to sort of fill the holes where there used to be part-time staff. So it's really a team effort, but I think so far things sound like they're going really, really well out there. Ultimately, when we built these programming, these were the 3 things we kept in mind. Really, it was maximum health and safety for our staff and for their residents. Our goal is really to save the holidays and to restore a little hope for the community, both from a secular and a non-secular standpoint, really keeping some traditions alive and starting some new traditions for the community, and to try to find creative alternatives to sort of combat the social isolation that's been a part of this pandemic. We really thought our goal is to accomplish this in 2 different veins. One would be a combination of virtual and online options, which people are starting to become really comfortable with, like this meeting. And the other would be physically distanced outdoor programs where we control all of the sort of elements of physical distancing that we can, where we're sort of moving away from the idea of social distancing, and really just it's the idea of keeping people a safe enough distance from each other, but still feeling that connectedness socially. So that's really the goal, and the goal is still to be setting the bar for our industry and for other divisions out there, so to be really thoughtful in how those are devised. These considerations are going to continue to be ones that we weigh as we continue to build and with the ongoing program, is to look for alternative funding sources to re-engage with our long-standing partners who have been sort of waiting to be re-engaged wherever that's feasible, to keep costs of recovery in mind, but to still consider affordability issues for those who might be unemployed or underemployed right now. The great part about some of our virtual programs is, our capacity levels are really raised, and the ability to offer scholarships or things like that to folks, really, we have a lot more ability to do that, which is great. We want to provide agility and flexibility in registration. So if someone were to get sick or have to be quarantined with their families, we're going to be far more flexible than we used to be according to our old sort of cancellation policies. So that's really a goal for us, is to, our operational capacity will clearly be smaller right now with limited staff resources. So we'll have to just be smart about when and where those programs happen. And clearly we live in Michigan, so we'll be, using the seasons and the weather to do what we can outdoors for as long as we can. Not that we'll let a little snow stop us. One of our hopes is to sort of reinvent the way people identify the Summit on the Park as only this sort of indoor facility, and really to use some of the outdoor spaces there. So we're going to call it the Summit on the Park's Community Courtyard, and we're going to reinvent the parking lot into a outdoor fitness studios, and there will be tents that'll become outdoor classrooms, and really to still keep that the hub of some of our community operations. You know, we have the ability to put some storage units there and to put our large live stage out there, and we'll have access to the indoor restrooms that can be maintained safely. We clearly still have all of our parks, pavilions, and patios. So it's our hope to fully use the breadth of all of our outdoor resources. So, you know, like I said, weather will certainly be a part of that, and we're just going to have to be flexible with it. But, you know, we're really confident that we can maintain the identity of the Summit on the Park as a community gathering place by just sort of reimagining how we use those outdoor spaces. Just a couple of these were just like a sneak peek to give you an idea of where our head was at with some of our sort of fall traditions. We have a virtual 5K and some other cool stuff, but one of the ones I wanted to mention was a portable pumpkin patch. So folks that might not want to travel to a cider mill this year, we're going to bring the cider mill to them. So we'll have staff adorned in plaid that'll bring donuts and ciders and pumpkins to your front yard, and you can have a fall photo op, and it'll be just like you went to the cider mill with your family, but it'll be kind of a fun, unique way to have it brought to you. So that was one of the sort of fun ways we're going to reinvent that fall tradition for folks. In October, we've got like a jam-packed month planned. Everything from virtual storytelling series to, we were going to call it drive-in movie, but we found out that it's got to be called a carpool cinema. So we'll be showing a Halloween classic like Hocus Pocus out in Indy Park, and folks can stay in their car and safely distance and enjoy a little Halloween fun out there. We're gonna have our mascot bring a sort of a portable parade to different neighborhoods where he'll be tossing out candy to some of our outreach neighborhoods and some other neighborhoods through sort of a contest. And so we'll sort of bring trick-or-treating to you without having to leave your own home. We're going to use the story trail, and there's a lot of fun stuff we're going to do on social media, teaching folks to do the thriller and the time warp dance and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So, you know, we don't know what trick-or-treating will really look like, but our hope is still to feel Halloween with lots of things for individuals to look forward to. When it comes to some of the holiday traditions, one of the ideas was to sort of bring Santa with a 6-foot candy cane, same thing, to your front door, and you can have quick visits and safe visits with Santa that way. We have adopted the idea of sort of putting on a winter wonderland walk out at Pheasant Run Golf Course, which would be 2 miles of a lit pathway with luminaries and white twinkling lights, and you know, not a traditional sort of Christmas, right? Really a holiday walk or a winter walk for all, you know, folks, and it could be a brand new tradition that we'd really like to keep going, you know, beyond the pandemic for sure. We'd like to do a coordinated sort of community lighting where everybody turns on their lights on the same night if we don't all gather in front of the community tree at the summit. So lots of creative ways to sort of keep traditions alive for folks who might not be able to, you know, get together, but we're going to bring the holidays to you. We're going to do a lot of social media stuff where we're going to talk about different traditions across cultures and ways that, you know, people who maybe traveled out of the country or to other places during this time of year, you know, a lot of people will be home this year. So it'll really be about celebrating within the community. And our hope is to make that, all of that as inclusive as possible. The block was a really tricky one because we weren't sure for a long time what the schools were going to do. So we were kind of waiting to find out, but then we really just decided to look at the program for ourselves and sort of decide what our priorities needed to be. So they were really to be able to maintain our relationships with our outreach populations. There are a lot of multi-generational families we serve, so we wanted to make sure we were able to keep those families really safe. We wanted to give kids something to look forward to, and we wanted to still let those protective factors drive our programming. And our hope is really to introduce this idea through sort of a virtual and outdoor open house so they can still meet us and ask questions. But our goal was really to look at capacity and how many families we were going to be able to serve, whether it was in person or virtual and outdoors. And, you know, our capacity was going to be so incredibly limited by trying to do an in-person operation. There were so many transportation obstacles and staffing concerns, and the way groups of kids had to be kind of separated and with cohorts. And then should an infection occur, then it would lead to a real lack of access to important childcare for other families. So it felt sort of like an easy decision for us to go in this direction, to make it virtual and outdoor, so that they would still have a lot to look forward to. They could still have really social connections. They'll still have positive role models. It just won't be the in-person fun at the block, but it's going to sort of be this next level of interaction. Like I said, that follows the sort of programming without walls idea. So, and it really will require fewer staff resources this way, but the volume of people that we'll be able to serve is much higher in this direction. So this is like a very quick snapshot. I'm not going to read all of this for you, but our hope is to still order to offer tutoring services and mental health programming and some of the leadership programs that we're kind of well known for now. Some of the support groups, e-gaming opportunities, engagement with public safety, cooking classes, our Hot Meal Mondays program, which brings hot meals to outreach families, art classes. You know, it's really a broad array. And the idea is that you would still have a membership to the block. So for $25 a month or something like that, you'd have access to, this is a sample calendar of what that might look like. Based on demand, we might have to set some maximums about how many programs individuals can register for within any given week or month. But some of these, like, you know, based on Zoom abilities, we could really serve a whole lot of individuals virtually. And then we're going to keep the groups a little bit smaller for the in-person programming. But this is sort of a snapshot of what a September might look like for Black and Beyond programming. The next group I wanted to talk about was our therapeutic recreation program. This group had us really concerned because there have been really severe disruptions in their routines and therapies and services in the middle of a public health crisis like this. There are very few support systems out there right now for individuals with special needs. And more than ever, their families need a little bit more respite because the caregiving is really sort of nonstop right now. So with that in mind, I kind of just wanted to mention something sort of amazing that our therapeutic recreation staff there, probably one of the more dedicated groups of individuals that I've ever worked with. But as soon as the quarantine happened, really it was their own decision that they wanted to sort of keep contact with this group and make sure everybody was okay and doing well. So while they were sort of in a state of being laid off, they volunteered their time twice a week to host socials with this group of individuals. So this happens to be one of the notes of gratitude from one of the family members that her daughter took part in these by twice a week, these Zooms. But they, like I said, they were all volunteers. Our staff, more than 15 of our staff led activities during this time. It was more than 50 free Zoom socials were offered. More than 50 of our traditional TR participants took part. It was everything from like karate class to show and tell, cooking classes, scavenger hunts, bingo. It was a really, really broad range of programs. So, I've rarely been as proud to work with a group of people who, went so far above and beyond, even when they weren't being paid, to sort of stay connected to a group of individuals. So the bright spot of that is that we are still very connected to these families, and there hasn't been a sort of a lapse in communication. So it'll be really easy for us to sort of re-engage with them more formally. Really, our plan is to offer the same thing, some virtual programs, and to continue our social programs with them. That one will likely look like a membership as well for a certain monthly fee. They'll have the opportunity to take part in fitness classes or other programs like that. The in-person programs, we will require companions there just from a safety perspective. With the fewer staff resources, it'll be really important for us that companions stay on site for that. This is sort of our enrichment program at a glance. I'm just going to touch on that real fast. There are this is really driven by the interest and availability of contract instructors. So you'll likely see outdoor art classes or dance classes, virtual cooking classes, and things like that. So those will start popping up in September. I think there's a babysitter training one coming online really soon. So all of these programs will have a rolling registration. So new classes could be rolled out every week. There's no deadline or cutoff or things like that. Once they're full, and we can generate waiting lists based on interest, but there's not going to be like a ready, set, go, how it typically has been with our old Discover. Everybody starts on one day and classes can fill. There's just going to be a lot of opportunity to, if you miss this opportunity, there'll likely be another one coming right around the corner. Our Club 55 senior program, they've been really active online. More than 200 seniors have been pretty engaged in our Facebook page. There have been all sorts of fun themes days and Wii bowling leagues and chair fitness demos and things like that that they've conducted through their Facebook page. They recently conducted a survey. 92% said that they were very interested in taking part in virtual programs. More than 60% knew how to use Zoom, which is great. And more than 75% said that they were even considered participating in outdoor physically distanced programming, which I think are really encouraging numbers for sure. Health and wellness is another part of it. Our farmers market season kicked off on July 12th, which is a little later than normal, but they're going to extend their season through October 25th, which is great news. We had a fun highlight by Channel 7. They've been really great about safety protocols there. The guests that are coming have been incredibly respectful of all of the mask rules and keeping a distance. And as a result of all that's going on, the Double Up Food Box program has really extended their benefits so that there's a lot more access to produce in response to the COVID-19 crisis, which is excellent for all those SNAP users. They're averaging about 800 patrons at the market a week, which is really sort of outstanding in light of all that's going on. We don't expect that the construction of the pavilion will really disrupt any of our market operations, which is great news. Outdoor fitness classes are going to ramp up right at the end of this month. It's been a lot to get that sort of going. We're really working hard on the safety protocols related to that. There will be really stringent about equipment use and not shared in the way it's going to be clean throughout the class. So we're putting all those operations and logistics in place right now. But a lot of our favorite Zumba and yoga and cycling instructors will be back. It'll just be outdoors or it'll be online. And some of those schedules are already online now. And those will not be like 6 and 8 week classes anymore. It'll really be like a one-time drop-in, which is pretty cool. A lot of flexibility for folks. Sorry, I know I spoke really quickly, but I wanted to throw a lot at you. We're really, really excited to sort of come back to life when it comes to programming. We think folks have missed us a lot. We certainly have missed them. So it's a small crew, but they're incredibly enthusiastic about bringing programs back to the people. So we just appreciate the opportunity. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Thank you, Jen. I'm going to take back the screen and then if anyone wants to go ahead, I won't need to acknowledge people. Just go ahead and there we go.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much. That was really informative and real exciting too. You guys are really moving forward with some of the ideas we had talked about earlier. So thank you, Jennifer. It's really great to hear about that. Those employees that worked with the therapeutic groups in March. Thank you very. Could you thank them? That's really great. I know those kids, like you said, they really get lost, and it's important for them to have that social aspect there. Now, one thing you talked about is outdoor classes. So you said something about so you're going to move some of the machines outside and then have them under coverings. Is that what you meant by that?
Yeah, so there will be, we're looking at renting a very substantially sized tent for the parking lot, and then we'll have a tent also on the lawn outside of the summit. So there will be sort of 2 classroom spaces, and then sometimes we won't use the tent at all if we end up using cycling bikes. We're going to get a pod rental storage to keep some of our equipment, so hauling it in and out won't be as cumbersome for everybody. So we're getting as creative as we can be to sort of keep it easy for ourselves, or easier for ourselves. But yeah, so it'll just be sort of identifying which layouts and logistics will keep everybody safe, and painting chalk lines where they need to be painted, and yep, sort of.
Oh, that's exciting.
And just Just to
So,
clarify on that real quick, it's going to be the type of machines that we would be putting out there would be like the stationary bikes for like a spinning class, but not treadmills and ellipticals or any of the weight equipment type thing. It'd be like for a specific class, not just for drop-in use.
Okay, that's cool. Now, what about the, you talked about you're gonna have some virtual 5Ks, and we don't know how long everything will last, you know, with the pandemic numbers going up or down, but like the turkey trot, that's normally in November. So would that, if we had to, could that move to virtual real quickly?
I think that's their plan right now, is for it to be a virtual 5K.
Okay,
That's the
okay.
yeah. Our programs were designed to sort of survive the phases a little bit. They were designed so that we wouldn't have disruptions and continue to cancel and disappoint people. The hope is that 3 through 5, these can sort of maneuver in between those phases sort of seamlessly.
That's great. Last year, you also had at the holiday festival, those wreaths from around the world.
Yeah.
You know, and you had just talked about luminaries around the pond. You could put those around the pond at stations too for people to stop at.
Yeah, and I think social media gives us really the power to share a lot of those again too, and give a little background about that. So that really is our, like I said, our plan is to make sure that the holidays feel really inclusive for everybody this year.
That's great. And then the block program, you're going to have some of that outdoor programming for them, if that's what you had said, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
Stephen, you are currently on mute. Go ahead and unmute.
Thank you, sir. I was just saying that I really enjoyed the presentation and the out-of-the-box thinking. Greg and Jen, you did a great job, and your whole team. Those are the types of things that I think we've been expecting to come from you guys, and you're delivering on them. A couple of questions I had were the caregivers that you talked about. I didn't understand if there was anything that we were going to be able to do to give them a break or time away, like we have in the past. I know that's really hard, but if there's some requests that we can help with in terms of funding for something, where maybe smaller groups or something, where you bring in those with special needs in smaller groups so that their caregivers can have time off, I'd love to hear it and talk about approving, you know, something like that, if that's possible. Did you have ideas on that?
I do. I think that will definitely require some additional staff resources. That's really what it comes down to. Keeping companions involved right now would be the result of having just 1 or 2 staff available. But if we were able to have additional staff available for a program like that, then that would certainly free up those individuals. It's a little bit harder because right there, it's a slightly more hands-on population, so the risk is a little bit higher for sure. But I think with additional staff resources for a program like that, that certainly is a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I know protocols are harder, but I'm sure they're trying their best to find time, you know, on their own. So if there's anything we can do to help in that area.
Yeah, and they mentioned
in a safe way.
Yeah, even the virtual hours that we give them here or there, you know, they kind of, which is great. It doesn't feel like enough, clearly.
Yeah,
you know, we know it's not enough, but it's just, you know, we're hoping it's a good start.
Okay, very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a real quick question for the block. You have the lunch program. Are you going to be bringing lunch to different participants, or how is that?
Yeah, so we have an outreach program with Lincolnshire right now. That's sort of the group of kids that we operated our Canton Youth Connection program out of typically. And some of those CDBG dollars that you talked about earlier this evening are ones that sort of helped support that. Last year, many of the local restaurants in Canton donated all of those meals to those kids, which was wonderful. And it was usually way more than one child was going to eat, so they always brought the leftovers home, which was really wonderful. So our hope is really still to do, it'd be a dinner program more than a lunch, and then to really interact with them in ways they are just to sort of check in on them, right? The whole idea of losing the ability of teachers maybe in person to see them and do welfare checks and things like that. That's a little bit, you know, a scary part of virtual school, but our hope is that with these sort of weekly check-ins with our friends there in some of these neighborhoods, it's a great chance for us to see who's there, who's doing well, who maybe needs a little extra help. So, and to do that and partner with public safety, they've been a great partner with those programs so far. So that's our hope with that one, is to keep that one going. We still hope we will get some meals donated, but if not, we're setting apart some funds for sure so that we can keep that program rolling.
So you're looking for donations?
We will, yes, for sure.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And then I like that, the 55 plus, that you're getting programs for our folks there. So good job.
Thank you.
So people can sign up online right now for some of these outdoor classes?
Really soon. So I believe starting next week, the fitness classes are the first that are going to sort of roll out. Most of our other programs are going to roll out at the beginning of September. We're going to start hosting sort of a weekly virtual sort of talk show on our Facebook page that'll tell people what's new for the week and then encourage them to sort of register for, you know, whatever programs are new or rolling out. But we have pretty much our schedule from September through December set. So those are all going to start appearing online soon. We just kind of wanted to slowly relaunch and let people know, here we go. You know, we're going to try a couple classes first here, and then through September, it'll really start picking up steam.
You'll also, just on that, you'll also be seeing, we've decided not to do our traditional fall Discover that you see. Typically, you get that 80-page Discover magazine in the mail twice per year. We're not going to do that this fall. We're going to be probably coming back to the board looking to extend the contract with our contractor in the future, since they're not going to, technically we're obligated to have one this fall, but they're going to allow us to just extend the contract one issue and skip this one. But we're going to be doing a postcard mailer out to everybody. That'll be our Discover that will drive everyone to our website. We're creating one website page within our group of websites to really drive everyone to and have regular updates to that web page that says, this is what's going on now. These are the new programs that we're having. And we're going to encourage people to really keep that postcard hanging on your fridge and check that website frequently, so you can see what the new offerings are on a regular basis. And that also allows us to, Jen talked about being agile and being able to modify things throughout this process. So if something worked well, we can add more of it. If it doesn't work, we can stop doing it. Or if the recommendations from the CDC and the governor changes, we can make modifications as well. So by doing that all virtual, it really gives us a lot more flexibility than putting out a large print piece.
That's great.
Additional comments? I just want to say I'm extremely impressed. I think you know, Leisure Services is you know, probably one of the few. You know, we sit on lots of boards and agents, you know, different kind of like best practices groups in the state and nationally. And I think this is a pretty good reason why you guys do a phenomenal job. And this programming is really cool. I was like smiling as you were explaining just the creative ways that you really thought about how to stay relevant to the people we serve in Canton Township. And I'm extremely grateful for that. Very impressed by the individuals who work with the people who work with individuals with disability who, while laid off, were finding ways to volunteer to still interact with that community, that group, that community. That's special. That's something you don't see everywhere. And I think it makes me proud to be associated with Canton Township. And I hope that everybody else here is proud that they're associated with Canton Township. This is a really good job, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right. On that note, we have public comment. Anybody from the public care to make a comment? Any director comment? Anybody want to add anything?
I'd just like to thank everyone for the opportunity to present what our staff has been working on. I'm definitely very proud of everything that they've come up with. They've been extremely creative and faced with a lot of challenges here. We have the staff that are pulling these programs together are also working the front counter at the golf course and working nights at the sports center to pull off those programs, since really 80% of our staff are part-time and are laid off right now. So just by even if we had our full-time staff on full at 5 days a week, we would be down 80% of our staffing levels. So for them to be pulling this off while also filling shifts that part-time staff do is really phenomenal. And it's great to see what they've come up with. And I'm really excited about these offerings.
Mhm.
Right. Any board comment?
Can we get those charts?
Yeah.
Jen? Greg, will you send us the charts?
Yeah, you want the slideshow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
thanks.
absolutely. Yeah, we can send that for sure. We can send a map too of what our little summit plan is, so you can sort of see the logistics there as well. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to do something fun and exciting during a time that it's hard for a lot of people to find that. So we're a skeleton crew, but we are committed to bringing a little community back to the community. So I really appreciate your time, and I'm so glad that you feel positively about what we're going to try to do here. So thanks so much.
Can't wait.
Any additional board comment? Anne Marie?
So Michael, still on this, or can we move on to something else? Another?
I'm at for the talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, we had a big election, and how was it in the clerk's office? I mean, you had 2 days of work, so fill us in. What do you think you need help with before November, or?
Yeah, good. Thank you. The election last Tuesday was a unique election, unlike any I had ever experienced. And I actually want to take a point of privilege real quickly where I I'm going to do 3 things real quick if you'll allow me. Well, I'm technically the chairperson, I get to do it.
He's allowing himself.
1, I want to test out showing a video on Zoom, because public safety will need to do that for our meeting on the 18th. 2, I want to highlight the work that Canton Cable has done. And 3, I want to talk a little bit about the election that occurred. So I'm going to do real quick, share my screen and play a video that was produced by our Canton Cable. And this is a video that was used to show how to set up the precinct on election day for precinct inspectors, but it also goes through the voting process. So here goes. Let me know. Can everyone see the kind of blank, that black video screen? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's give it a shot.
It's muted, maybe.
You are unable to hear the audio?
Correct.
Okay, that's important. Chad, for your video next week, are you going to be having audio?
Yes, there will be audio. It's comparisons, so it'd be good if we had access to provide that to the viewer.
Okay, that's going to be something I will need to talk to IT about. Let's see here. Let me try this. Let me try from scratch. Tell me if you can hear it.
Yeah, I can hear it.
All right, I'm gonna turn the
It's
volume.
very faint.
Okay, let me turn up my volume. And let's give it a shot.
Kind of faint. It's still faint.
I can't hear.
Michael, one time I remember a while ago, I shared Spotify on something like this, and I had to share it as an app. I don't remember how I did it, but I can look after the meeting.
Symptoms, including fever,
There you
There you go.
sore throat.
Okay, it's a 5-minute video.
Hi, I'm
Will
Canton
not
Township
listen
Clerk
to the
Michael
entire part.
Segrist, and I want to thank you for your commitment to be a precinct inspector on election
Yeah,
day.
that's
We'll be
fine.
unable to make sure we have safe and accessible voting on election day for the population of Canton without your commitment and your support. Here's some information about how we're going to be setting up the precincts on Election Day to make sure you're safe and also make sure that the voters are safe while following Center for Disease Control guidelines.
This blew me away. The work that they did was like,
When arriving on Election Day, all precinct inspectors will be asked if they have any symptom, including fever, cough, sore throat. Ensure social distancing throughout the day, maintaining a space of 6 feet from fellow precinct inspectors and the general public. Make sure you wash your hands as frequently as possible. Disinfectant will be provided for sanitizing doorknobs, voting equipment, and tabletops. There will be hand sanitizer available as well. Gloves are provided and recommended. All precinct inspectors are required to wear a mask. Voters are encouraged to wear a mask, however, that is not a requirement for voting purposes. A limited number of face shields are provided, and they are to be utilized by inspectors who interact with the general public. For precinct setup, make sure that all AV apps are set up at station number 1 at the entrance of your polling location. Both precincts in a multi-precinct location can use the same station. Assemble and place your sneeze guard at station number 1 with the AV applications, along with a receptacle for dirty pens once voters have used them. Use blue masking tape to place 6-foot markers in the hall entranceway and leading up to the tabulator. This will allow for social distancing in the precinct. Gather all of your protective equipment into one location. Set up a table outside of your...
so I'm gonna cut it off because it's a 5-minute video. But essentially, we go through the video, we explain how to set up the precinct, because we changed a substantial amount of the processes for how we were going to administer the election in the precinct. We wanted to make sure that we allowed for 6 feet distance. We also had to accommodate the fact that we were going to lose a great number of precinct inspectors. We had 136 cancellations the week prior to the election of precinct inspectors. And we came very close to not having the minimum requirement to administer the election in 2 precincts. We had to move people, reassign them as well, trying to balance that partisan makeup, right? You have to have a precinct inspector who's a Democrat or a Republican working on tasks together, certain tasks, because you can't have inspectors of the same political party going into the voting, going into a voting booth with a voter, going into the tabulator to assist with any ballot jams. You want people of different political parties. And that's kind of a balance and a check on the system. But it became very, very difficult when you had a number of people canceling last minute. And the primary concern was just mostly significant others being unwilling to have their partner expose themselves to the coronavirus. People were very fearful of doing that on election day. But we were able to make those accommodations. We got through the election. We will need to do a lot more recruitment for November because we only had about 6,000 people vote in the polls on election day. It's a very small election. Turnout's very low turnout for election day. We had 20,500 absentee ballots, which was a record by a lot. We've never had that many absentee ballots. So that deferred a lot of people from voting in the precinct. But we will not see, we will see a lot more people voting in the precinct in November. And so we processed 6,000 more absentee ballots than we've ever processed before. We opened, sorted, tabulated, and we were done tabulating the absentee ballots by 9:30, which was a record as well. So we had done a great deal of work in a short amount of time. The precincts were pretty flawless. I was really impressed by them working with a new model, a new setup. We had some challenges. There was some active shooter training at Canton High School, so we had to move a precinct last minute. We had some site work going on Warren Road and we have the work on Cherry Hill Road. So voters had to kind of find alternate routes to the polls, to the precincts to vote. Plymouth Canton Community Schools is working on some carpet installations in some of the elementary schools. So we were moved out of some areas we were used to, but we got through the day and had to send some people home for having potential COVID symptoms. Some inspectors had to get sent home. And, but it was a good day. We had some technical issues on election night. So getting the results, the unofficial results out, it took a little bit of time. I believe myself and the deputy worked 36 hours continuous, but we made it through the day and we balanced, and it's pretty impressive to do that with that record amount of absentee ballots. What we will be probably bringing to the board in the next board meeting will be a request for an additional scanner, an additional adjudicator, and we will want staff from the equipment manufacturer on site for election day. And then we will probably want to have some additional conversations. We're going to be working with HR, Human Resources, to talk about ways to staff the election. Because if we see an additional 15,000 people showing up to vote in the precincts on election day in November, which we more than likely will, we're going to need more bodies. We can't administer the election with 3 people in a precinct. That's just won't work that way. But it was a great day. Very impressed with all of the candidates, voters. We had minimal issues, a couple of issues, but not widespread. It was isolated, and I'm pretty impressed.
Right. That's good. So most of it was the tabulators, and you had to fix all the machines that broke down. Is that what you're saying?
Nope.
Nope.
No, the machines did not break down. The tabulating of ballots went well. That was not a problem. Are you talking about for the unofficial results for the absentee counting board?
Right.
Yeah. So if you were going to ask me to go into clerk mode, I could extend this for quite a great time.
No, thank you, Mr. Pro Temp Supervisor.
But
no,
essentially the voters created a problem because a voter doesn't typically know very well how to cast a ballot in the August primary in Michigan. We have interesting rules, right? Some states have what's called closed primaries. You have to be a member of a political party to vote in their primary. And that's simple. I'm a Republican, you'll give me a Republican ballot. I vote it, I'm done. I'm a Democrat, you give me a Democratic ballot. I vote it, I'm done. Not a problem. Michigan has a hybrid system. It's not closed. Any voter can vote in whatever primary they want to, but it's also not open either. You can't vote Republican for supervisor, Democratic for clerk, Republican for treasurer, Democrat for trustee. You can't cross over vote, or you've invalidated the partisan section of your ballot. You've crossed over and voted. 2,800 voters decided they were going to do that in the absentee counting board. They incorrectly voted the partisan section of their ballot. 2,800. That's a lot of ballots. Now, there's 2 ways to handle that issue. You can either pull all 2,800 ballots aside, and you can duplicate the ballots without filling out the partisan section. Because if you remember, there are 3 columns on your ballot. There's the Democratic column on the left, ironically, the Republican column in the center there, and then the 3rd column was a nonpartisan column. There were 2 tax questions and there were some judges. Now, if you cross over vote, it just invalidates the first 2 columns. Your 3rd column still counts. So we would have to duplicate those ballots and put them on through, or send them through no matter what. But the problem with that is it stops scanning. So if you're using a high-speed scanner, you're scanning 50 ballots. You know, I told you the math. We had 2,800 crossover votes. We had 20,000 ballots. That means 1 in every, 7 ballots, the scanner stops. That completely stops the speed of the tabulator. Your high-speed tabulator is worthless because the voters haven't successfully voted a ballot, right? They've crossed over and voted. Now, we don't stop every 7th ballot because we have what's called adjudication software. This is a separate machine. There's a scanner goes through all 50 ballots, even though every 7th voter has messed up their ballot and unsuccessfully voted a partisan section. And instead, a Republican and a Democrat, instead of duplicating a ballot, they adjudicate a ballot, but they have to visually inspect all 2,800 ballots. And they have to determine what's the issue. Is it a crossover vote? Is it an undervote? Is it an overvote? Did I vote for 2 and I can only vote for 1? Is it a write-in? Is it a valid write-in? Because there were valid write-in candidates. Is it an unvalid write-in candidate? There's all these reasons why you have to adjudicate a ballot. The process to adjudicate a ballot, that takes a while, roughly 9 seconds. So 2,800 times 9 seconds is roughly 5 hours. Our adjudication software wasn't functioning throughout the day. We didn't get it up and running until around midnight. That's a problem. So you got 5 hours of adjudicating and it's midnight. Well, then the adjudicator wasn't working properly and some batches we couldn't find. So I can go through the litany of what went wrong, but suffice to say, it was the adjudication software. But had 2,800 voters not chosen to write in Mickey Mouse or crossover vote, had they successfully voted the ballot according to the rules that are clearly written at the top of the ballot and on the secrecy sleeve. So there's instructions on your secrecy sleeve and instructions on the ballot on how to vote. But people don't read instructions, do they? Had they successfully cast ballots, there would have been no ballots to adjudicate, and we would have had the results done at 9:30. But we had technical issues with the adjudication software, which is why we're going to bring in somebody from the company on election day. And November, you can vote any way you want to, right? I can vote Republican for clerk. I can vote Democratic for treasurer. I can vote Republican for supervisor, Democratic for supervisor. I can vote all over that ballot I want. So there's no crossover votes. So I'm very excited. August is always the hardest election to administer. It's harder than any other election because of precinct delegates and because of the crossover issue. Voters have not successfully learned how to vote in August. And what did we do special this time? We sent an application to all these voters, many of whom had never voted in a primary before, many of whom were unfamiliar with the rules that you have to stick into a column or stay in your lane, as we colloquially like to say. So when you've got a record turnout in a primary and they've never voted in a primary, you've got a record number of problem ballots. And that's essentially the issue.
Mike, what happened to the 2,800 ballots? Were they all voided?
Well, some of them, no, their votes for judge would count and their votes on the tax questions counted. But yeah, if they voted for me and you, John, then we didn't get either of those votes. They had to have voted for you or me, not you and me. That crossover, that partisan crossover strips everyone's partisan vote. Yeah. Some people, you know, if you ever if you're not on the ballot, come vote on an election. You'll see how people vote. Some people, they bubble in every contest, even the write-in one. They'll vote like 3. People do interesting things with their ballots. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of the rule on crossover votes. It just invalidates the partisan section because we have no way of knowing what the intent of the voter is. Do they want to vote a Republican primary ballot or a Democratic primary ballot? And they clearly don't know because they're bouncing between both columns. But yeah, our goal for November is to count those ballots and have the software work perfectly. The beautiful thing is for the voters, everything went perfectly. The hard part is for any candidates on the ballot who are in contested races, they were probably had a hard time going to bed that night. They did not know if they won or not. You know, we like to tell that they're unofficial votes. Now, we had the option of publishing the unofficial results before the adjudication. My concern is some of those 2,800 were false write-ins, people writing in Mickey Mouse, right? Now that doesn't count, doesn't matter. No one ever really sees that vote, but their partisan vote would count because a false, I could go into the details of it, but suffice to say, had we published the unofficial results and then adjudicated 2,800 ballots, that could have resulted in 400 extra votes. People could have gotten a false implication, the notion that somebody had won. And then after we were done adjudicating, they would be like, oh my gosh, what happened to these extra 400 votes? And I'm very mindful that right now in our society, there's a lot of scrutiny around elections. There's a lot of false claims of fraud around elections. There's a lot of concern about, especially vote by mail, right now. So we're very mindful that we can't really mess this up. You get one chance to really let people know the results. And in November, the news organizations are going to try to call the election as early as possible. And there's problems with that. Unofficial results are unofficial results. People don't officially get elected until 7 days after the election, once the results have been canvassed. But that doesn't stop us from putting out the unofficial results. But I was unwilling to put out results at midnight that could be reversed the next day at 5 p.m. once we got the software up and running. So I chose not to put any results up because it's really important to me that people see the clerk's office as the ability, the ability to administer an election unbiased, fairly, and to do so proficiently. And if you put out false results or results that are unofficial at 11 o'clock at night that change the next day, people don't understand our process. They don't read our manuals. They don't know all that goes into it. They don't know the checks and balances. It's really important that we kind of protect the elections from accusations, whether they're, of kind of fraud or whatever. So that's why I worked 36 hours and did not publish the results until I had with 100% certainty that every ballot was cast and adjudicated appropriately.
I think you did a hell of a job.
Well, thank you. Thank you, John. I think you do a hell of a job.
It's with all of what's going on nationally and locally, I think Canton Township, at least the last 12 years that I've been involved, I don't believe there's ever been a problem with the voting. Maybe one or two little issues here or there, but the integrity of the votes, as you mentioned, Mike, are important. And I think you do a hell of a job in protecting that, and I appreciate it.
That means a lot coming from you, John. Thank you. Okay. I have nothing else to say other than without the support of the entire organization, leisure services, public safety, human resources, municipal services, treasury, finance. Oh, finance is a lot for me. Facilities under leisure services. Everybody helps out. We couldn't do it without everybody. And I'm extremely grateful. And we're leaning on people very, very hard right now because of, we've had staffing issues and the workload has increased 300% in the clerk's office over the last year. And it's hard to do that with the same budget that was put together 2 years ago. So we'll be coming to you for some more stuff, but yeah.
Just one announcement. Okay.
You got the floor.
There's a Back the Blue rally scheduled for Saturday, this coming Saturday, August 15th at 9:30 at Heritage Park. This is a non-political, non-partisan rally to show the support of the community for the men and women of the Public Safety Department and the bravery that they show every day. It's going to be a peaceful rally. It's going to be nonpartisan. It's going to be non-political. Individuals that show up are encouraged to wear masks and also be aware of social distancing. So anyone that's available for 9:30 Saturday, it shouldn't last more than an hour. It's really just to show support to public safety men and women that put their lives on the line really every day to make this community safe.
Thank you, John. 9:30 at Heritage Park.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I will entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Is there a support?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, all those in favor by roll call vote. Anthony,
Yes.
Foster,
Aye.
Graham Hudak,
Aye.
Ruth Slavens,
Aye.
Snyderman,
Aye.
William. Okay. Williams is absent. Motion carries. Thank you very much to everybody and have
Thank you.
a good evening.